Hi everyone, Peter Thomas here in Washington, D.C., NAAOP General Counsel, bringing you up to date with respect to the debt limit deal and how that debt limit deal might impact orthotic and prosthetic practitioners and the field in general. You know, it's mid-August right now, and Congress has returned home for their congressional recess. And as the financial markets and policymakers look through the legislation that was passed on August 2nd, which averted a federal default and extended the debt ceiling through the 2012 elections, it's obviously a major, it's creating major volatility in the financial markets, but it's also being interpreted in many different ways here in Washington. What will the impact of this new bill be? Well, I can tell you that the first major development is that a new committee has been formed, a super committee they call it, where 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans have been appointed to try to negotiate $1.2 to $1.5 trillion in spending cuts over the next 10 years. That committee has to report out its findings by November 23rd. And then Congress has to pass that bill, has to pass that proposal by December 23rd of 2011. This is a very, very ambitious time frame and an ambitious challenge for a Congress that is so divided politically to come to any kind of an agreement of this magnitude. And yet, even with the magnitude of $1.2 to $1.5 trillion in spending cuts, those decisions are largely being interpreted as too small to do anything about the structural problems of entitlement spending, of the long-term debt that our country faces, and of the new threat of a reduced credit rating that occurred just last week. What I can say is that if the agreement, if the proposal is not issued by the 23rd and is not voted on by December 23rd and passed, there are teeth in this new legislation to ensure that that Congress and the President agree to spending reductions. Those teeth are represented by something called sequestration, and it's a federal process whereby across the board cuts will automatically go into effect. Outside of the healthcare area, these cuts could range anywhere from 6 to 9%, and that's a major cut. And it includes, by the way, it includes defense programs. So there'll be plenty of pressure to try to reach agreement so that sequestration does not happen. I should tell you that in the Medicare program, the sequestration limits are limited to a 2% cut. And this 2% cut would apply to all Medicare providers' reimbursement rates and to health plan reimbursement rates that participate under the Medicare program, Medicare Part C or managed care plans. None of the cuts would come from beneficiary services or coverage of devices or services under Medicare. 2% cut is still meaningful, and it's a very significant cut. It's something that we need to be very mindful of as the new year approaches. And it's going to be an extraordinarily busy fall to protect healthcare programs generally, but in particular Medicare and Medicaid. Just one last note. Medicaid was spared from the sequestration provision, as was Social Security. So those two programs will not be subject to sequestration, to any across-the-board cut, if Congress is not able to reach agreement on a set of proposals to save up to $1.5 and perhaps even more trillion over the next 10-year period. NAAOP will be working hard along with the other O&P organizations and along with plenty of consumer and disability organizations and healthcare provider groups to make sure that O&P and healthcare are as protected as possible in this discussion. We look forward to hearing from our members and from you reaching out to your political constituencies to try to impress upon them how important orthotics and prosthetics are in America. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the next video update.